Hello, and welcome to another episode of Intune.Training, the Steve and Adam Show, with Adam, Steve, and special guest who probably needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce him anyway, Johan Arwidmark. Hello, sir.
Hey there,
Hello,
how are you
hello.
guys?
Doing great.
Sounds good.
Very good on my end. It's
been a
exciting
minute.
to be back on the channel. Like, it's been a while, man.
Have you purchased a house yet or an apartment yet?
We have.
Finally.
We finally purchased. No more open houses.
Hey, congrats.
All
Awesome.
right, now we can have our Friday date nights back. All right, good.
Yeah, we can.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Nice. Well, so it's not about us; it's about Johan tonight. If you've been in this space for any period of time, you've run across something that Johan has produced. Either you've seen his Twitter, or you've seen one of his many training platforms or blogs or speaking engagements. But he's all over the place, and he's been all over the place for. We'll let him tell us. But the purpose of this episode is to talk to somebody who has been doing kind of what we've been dabbling in, but in a much more professional and structured way, training.
What do you mean, Adam? We're not professional?
I mean, in our day job, they let us think we're professional, but so Johan has been. I would say it's probably been largely a labor of love, even though he's getting paid for it. You got to really love doing this stuff to do it as long as he's done it at the level he's done it. And so tonight, whenever you're watching it, whatever time of day it is, we just want to have a chat around the importance of training and Johan's experiences with training, and just kind of dig into this. And without further ado, let's kind of get rolling here. So Johan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been doing this, and why we might be talking to you tonight?
Absolutely, would love to. First and foremost, my deepest respect for all the stuff you guys have been putting out over the years. How you find the time to do that, I don't grasp, but you're doing it. Fantastic. And also thanks for having me. My name is Johan, as already mentioned. I've been doing deployment basically my entire adult life. I started off when I was 16. I was in high school. I went down to a local computer shop after school, helped them assemble a computer, and they had to be deployed. Back then it was DOS, turned into Windows eventually. And I've been doing it since. And throughout these many, many years, 30-some years now, I also combined regular consulting work with, indeed, training and a lot of blogging in the community. Always had, I had a BBS when I was growing up, drove my parents nuts. At one point, I had 3 dedicated phone lines into our little apartment. That was great fun, but
Nice.
It's always been there, and I think always will be. The community, especially around the areas that we work in, Intune, ConfigMgr, systems management, Windows, Microsoft infrastructure. The community is amazing. I'm blown away every other week, just how helpful people are. And yeah, that's good stuff. So that's me. I've been doing this for a while, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
And I try to share information when I can. So it's always a balance. Like, how much time can you take out of your workday to share content in the community? It's always a balance, but yeah.
Well, good.
I like
it. So I will say that Johan, I want to say that you were probably one of the first names. Like, you were you and Michael Nystrom were probably, as I was entering the OSD space. You guys were probably the only 2 names I knew who didn't have a copy of your book on their desk. I mean, I've got it. It's not on my desk now, but
because
I
don't have anybody's books. I don't have books. I'm all digital. What's this paper thing you speak of?
Yeah.
But I love books. It's something holding it. It's.
And how many people got their exposure to OSD through one of your books? Definitely. And maybe didn't actually go to in person, or hadn't gotten to meet you, or like before YouTube was the big thing. Like, you had your books, and people were getting exposure to how to do this stuff. And so so I guess, I mean, so you've been doing this a long time. You've gone through lots of classes. You've had lots of students, lots of engagements with people. What are surely off the top of your head, you've got some stories of like interactions with people that have been impacted by the work that you've done. Like, hey, I had your book and now I'm an IT manager kind of thing. Do you have any of those kind of stories that you've heard over the years?
Oh yeah,
I put you on the spot, obviously.
No, that's perfectly right. It's been quite a few occasions where people have come up, and this is so heartwarming to me. So you won't believe it. It's hard to explain, but it's like amazing. I met a guy who works at Microsoft now. He joined the MDT team, and he came up to us during one of our trainings we had at Microsoft campus. We somehow were able to convince them to borrow one of their buildings to host what we called a Geek Week. And there was a class with 30-some students. We did OS deployment for 5 days. And he just came in and said, hi, I just want to introduce myself and say thank you so much. Because of the training material and the books that you wrote, I have a job now testing MDT for Microsoft. And back then, he was using Michael Niehause's old laptop to do that testing. So it's like, all right, that was a cool story. And it's been quite many of those. I mean, David Segura, for example, he was one of our early students back in 2010, 2011, 2012, something like that. And now I listen and learn to what he's doing. It's so cool.
I think he's got a picture of you guys all in probably 2015 at the Microsoft campus at one of your boot camps
we did a picture shooting. I don't think we were allowed to, but we did it anyway. Outside one of their campus signs they had there.
Nice.
It's always been a part of me. Training. I did my first training must have been 95. I did a NT3.51 training that I had to develop and write myself. And writing courseware, that's an interesting piece as well. You think it will just take it'll take a day or two to put up some courseware. Heck no, try a few weeks instead, and you're pretty spot on. It just takes a long time. It was the same when we started to write books. We figured, how hard can it be? Like
now we know it's really hard.
So a few weeks, 7 months later, all right, we're done.
So how
I know that feeling with the podcast. I still remember the first call we had between Adam and I was, oh yeah, so we'll do this one session and that's it. I'm like, oh no, it's going to be a little bit longer than that. Fast forward 4 years.
Yeah, we're still rolling. Yeah, and we still haven't scratched the surface. There's still more to learn. It's kind of nuts. So surely, Johan, someone has been doing this for so long, and I mean, if you can write a book or if you can write courseware, surely you don't deal with things like imposter syndrome or second guess the fact that I'm writing the book. Of course, I know all the information. I mean, how do you get to that confidence level, or what are the demons you're battling as you go through that of did I really get it right? And where do you get to draw that line? Because I feel like there's that moment where I was recently having this conversation with someone at work about you have to reach a point when you're trying to make a decision about go this way or that way. There's a data gathering thing that has diminishing returns where you feel like, all right, if I keep digging this until I get 100% confident, I'm going to miss the mark and I will, the time has already passed to do the thing. Or how do you draw that line of okay, I think I know enough. This is as good as it's going to get. I hope I'm fairly confident that I've covered the bases.
But I mean, it took me the longest time to realize that good enough was good enough. I would sit up entire nights before a presentation or a course trying to fine tune everything in the core detail. I was writing scripts, word for word. This is about what I'm supposed to present, etc. And try to remember most of that when I was up on a stage presenting something like that. But after a good decade and a half doing presentations, I realized, well, you have to draw a line somewhere where, a happy medium. And I was able to do that, and that has sort of helped me creating a lot of this material. But I also spend a stupid amount of time, like many of the other in the community, in a lab, always have, doing research, testing, playing around with things, doing tons of mistake. It's like, I forgot who said it. Might have been Renee, one of the TED Talk or persons. It's not so much of a mistake. It's more like, how good of a mistake was it? What did you learn from it?
Well, I like that. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's just about doing a lot of them and play around, tinker, test. When we do trainings these days, I usually lead in with something like, if you guys remember only one thing from this course, I'm hoping that would be that having access to a lab environment these days is absolutely key. Because Microsoft
and that
is...
lab not being in production. Sorry, but
yeah, that's another famous config manager saying that everybody has a test environment, and if you're lucky one, also have a production environment. But
exactly.
Yeah.
but having the ability to test things, because the release cadence is so quick these days. There are stuff coming out every other day or at least week. And you should not really learn everything in production. And that goes back to training. Why not go and listen to someone who has spent, say, 10,000 hours in whatever console the training is about? They've probably done a few mistakes. They've probably picked up a few things. And by attending a training, you can take advantage. You don't have to do every single mistake yourself. You can actually build on others, more like a stepstone type thing. I do recommend to do mistakes yourself also, because it's a good learning, but you don't have to do them all. There are other people out there who
blaze the trail for you, right? Like, hey,
yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have to beat my head against all of the walls. Yeah, I had the
and Adam's audio is going again.
Oh yeah, it's cracking up.
Every time I touch Teams.
Stay away from Teams, Adam. I'm telling you. That's
Yep, Adam.
So I had the mistake of the day today, where I was trying to run a PowerShell script I was testing through Company Portal, and it kept failing. But I could run it as my admin account and as my regular user account, and it would work fine. But when from Company Portal, it would fail. I said, okay, well, I'm going to run it as system and see what's going on, because I wasn't even getting logs. So I run a system, and the entire screen goes red every time. Like, what's going on? How's it? And it turns out, a couple of weeks ago, I was messing around trying to set up a module path so that all of my guys we could put our modules, custom modules, onto a network share. So you didn't have to pre-install them; it would just find them on that share. Well, we're on Azure AD only joined machines, so they can't talk on the network. They can't. The device itself is not trusted to talk to a network share. So system is trying to talk as the computer account, not as a user account. And so it can't hit this path that I've added to my PowerShell module path. It's not obvious. And it was like tickling the back of my brain the whole time. And I was like, oh, surely it's this. And I did the like SFC scan now and all DISM thing. Thanks Discord guys. And it didn't work. And then it hit me. I was like, it's the stupid path, isn't it? And I hit the path. I deleted it and immediately fixed it. But it had completely broken PowerShell 5 for system. Like, just, it was dead. But I've learned that lesson, and I tweeted it. I like to tweet that, because I'll go back and remember that one from Twitter. So yeah.
So what have we learned out of that event, Adam?
Azure AD join is good. It helps with zero trust. It helps prevent accounts.
Don't over-engineer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, simple's never simple, is it?
Don't over-engineer.
Yeah, but if you guys think of it, if you would take 100 blog posts from the community, no matter who has been written them, you can bet that like 95 of those 100 is from someone running into a problem, fixed it, and decided to blog about it. Yep. And I lost count the number of times I've been searching for something. It's like, all right, here's someone writing a blog post about it, and coming up to my own blog post 10 years ago. I was like,
yes, I've been there. It's like, I need an answer for this. Oh, look, there's a video we did 2 years about it. It's like, oh, okay. I know about this and I know how to fix this.
I blame that exact scenario for why I started blogging, because I don't know if you remember, Johan, but there was me and you and Michael Nystrom, because I was messaging you guys on Twitter, tagging you on Twitter, and we got in this thread around, it was like a HP server something driver. I don't know. There was some obscure issue that I'd run into, and I was asking, hey, have you guys seen it and everything? And there was nothing about it. And it was like, I figured it out. But I was like, well, where am I going to share this? So I started a blog just to share what I found. So it's like, I didn't want this to disappear, and people were finding it useful. Okay. So that was it. And I said, well, that wasn't too hard. I'll just keep doing that. And here we are. It's kind of nuts.
Yep.
Yeah, but it helps everybody's life so much that people are taking the time, because it does take a little bit of time to put it together. Some blog posts you can put up in a few hours, others take days, depending on what it is. But it really leaves an impact out there. So, yeah. Definitely.
I'd agree with that. So I'm going to change the story a little bit. Johan, I'm curious to know what you think is the hot topics for today that everybody in the community should be talking about.
I mean, I'm pretty niched in the area. I sort of work as a full-time consultant with, or almost full-time consultant at least. Systems management has been my game for a long time, together with imaging and everything that goes around it. And right now, where organizations are, basically two things that I work mostly with, and that is bringing organizations from being a strict on-premises something into some scale on the cloud journey. Some they will go all the way, some are ending up like halfway, 3/4, 1/4, etc. So it's a lot of that work. The other work, of course, since I work with, I have 2 homes these days. Imposter is our consulting company. I also have, I work for Superfind, and we focus on Autopoint software, and we focus on network impact for all these solutions. So I spend obviously a lot of time on that, making sure organizations are not killing the WAN links when they are doing these deployments, or are trying to speed up deployments for whatever they are doing. I mean, autopilot is a big topic, but if you try to enroll 300 machines yourself for a lab in a school, and you have Autodesk and the Adobe Suite and other applications, you're going to find that it's going to take a while, unless you have something to accelerate that stuff. And that's where solutions like connected caching have come into play, configuring delivery optimization so it's more effective. And that entire ecosystem, that's what is hot topic for me, at least, and I know with many others as well.
Yeah, it's a very big topic for my customers. I can attest to that.
And heck, you guys, you've been doing trainings on this for 4 years on this channel on related topics in that area. So,
yep. So when we talk, and I'm going to double click on something here that you mentioned, is around the network optimization. What's the top things that you would suggest to customers to look at first? Obviously, turning on DO is like a no-brainer, but what are the common problems that you see when you're walking into a customer environment as a consultant, just out of interest?
Everything from organization, just where their network team or security team downright disabled it because they didn't like the traffic, until them who learn about, okay, this is probably a cool thing, but they don't invest the time of researching it, that they don't attend any sort of training, they just click. Last year I was in an emergency call with a retail company, pretty big one, not the biggest by far, but 15,000 clients, a few hundred subnets. Normally, when you do peer-to-peering with clients, you group well-connected clients together, like clients in the same site or client on the same subnet. They can share content to each other. That's okay.
Of course.
This organization tried it differently. They took every machine in every site and told the system, you are well-connected, so you should peer to each other. creating a fantastic mesh with tens of thousands of connections to each other and eventually cripple their network. Not ideal. So that's like two ends of the spectrum. But to go back to the one that was an insurance company that decided to disable it completely, and I had to tell them, like, if you do that, you also don't get security updates for those many components in Windows. And I think it will be hard for someone to go into a security team and say, hey, guys, I have a fantastic idea. In order to make our network better, reduce the impact that Windows 10 and Windows 11 have, we're going to patch half of Windows, only half of it with the monthly CU. So you're going to skip the other half. And we're going to hope that we don't get attacked on the half we don't patch.
It feels like a 50% success rate, though. So, I mean,
it's a 50-50 split. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But that's okay. We don't need to update Notepad or Calculator. They're irrelevant.
I don't think it will totally fly, coming with the idea of patching a little bit instead of all of it. So, yeah.
It's interesting. You go, Adam.
No, go ahead. I'm sure yours is better. Go ahead.
Okay. And you might want to exit out of Teams. Your audio's gone really bad. But
no, I don't know.
A lot of what I see, and I've seen this with some of my customers, where they're leveraging like these CASB solutions that are fantastic, but then they forget to make sure they set up that routing to say, well, if you're at home on these CASB solutions, you're not in the corporate network. And we've seen content sharing between all of these devices at home as well as in the office. And it's an interesting experience to sit there and say, well, you're behind the same NAT, so therefore you can share content. And it's like, how often do you see that sort of thing? And all of that, because I know network performance is this huge black box for a lot of our listeners. That's why I want to focus a little bit on it.
I mean,
that's okay.
Our company, we make a point of visualizing, so you actually will see what you have on your network. So obviously, once you put solutions like that in place, it's easier. Without that, you have to dive into event logs and other log files that you have in the system to see what's actually going on the network. But all in all, if you put a little bit of heart into it, you can actually figure out a lot of things and reduce the impact a lot. For example, do branch cache right, and you reduce the WAN link with up to 90%. Do delivery optimization right, and you can do it with between 60 to 80%, because delivery optimization is a bit of an interesting platform also. Normally, when you have a peer-to-peer solution and one client download a file, it will make that available to others, or at least a few blocks of that file, and make available to other. Delivery optimization works differently. Say that one machine downloads 20 files. Branch cache would have shared all of them. Delivery optimization would say, no, today it's Tuesday, so I feel like I should share 7 of them. So it shares 7 to others, and then another client will download the same package, download the 20 files, and decide to share 5, and another 12. From some fancy algorithm that I have no idea how it works. Usually, if you have 10 clients in location, you get the full coverage of that package. But that's why the efficiency is lower. But it's still worth it, because if you can reduce 60 or 80% of the network traffic, why not?
Exactly.
It's like I love the discussion around leadbat and how it's just it's like just turn it on. Yeah. But everyone wants to do this analysis paralysis move on it, and it's like just turn it on. Like the impact is so amazing in a good way. Just turn it. Just click the button. But we don't know. We don't have any idea what that's doing, and we're so scared. And
we need to do it in a little segment so that we can validate it and make our security network team happy, and our security team doesn't want share to share.
I mean, it's amazing the discussions you went into an organization. Say, yeah, we bought a 45 megabit line between point A and point B, and now we enabled LEDBAT, and it uses all of it. Yeah, fantastic.
That's great.
You're actually using every byte you're paying for, instead of doing like quality of service and floor it down to half, because you're wasting half. LEDBAT will nicely back off if there's other stuff that needs the bandwidth.
Yeah, but we are geared to see 100% utilization as a bad thing. Oh, we got to dial it. Oh, we can't possibly use all of it. It's like, but why? You're paying for it. Why wouldn't you? Like, use the whole pipe.
Yeah, 100% effectiveness is pretty dang good. It's
Well, and the conversation there is then, are you seeing impact on all of the other systems that aren't using LEDBAT? And if you're not, what does it matter?
Yeah. Call me when you have problems, when people are complaining. We'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Then.
To this day, I have to see a network issue being caused by LEDBAT. It's usually the opposite route. It helps, but
yeah, that's good.
My big one that I see everything, and I blame everything on straight away, is DNS. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, it's always DNS. It's
yeah.
It's one of two things as to why your builds are slow during autopilot: DNS or SSL inspection.
I kid you not, I was troubleshooting DNS earlier today.
And I think I troubleshoot SSL inspection every day. My job. Yay me.
That and basically any type of proxy, with or without SSL inspection into the mix, that's gonna be the bane of my existence one day. It's painful.
Oh man,
so hard to troubleshoot, and it's like it works, but almost
throw in a little bit of network access control, and we just having a party, aren't we? And all of these tools just destroy OSD, man. Oh,
yep. But then you throw in the overutilized web proxy that can't actually process fast enough, and you're like, I wonder why everything's slow. But it's only to the internet. It's not to your file servers.
So I want to segue back into the training side with this concept, though. And I think I've heard it recently said that the ConfigMgr community, those of us who live and work in ConfigMgr or tangentially related to it, are some of the most well-rounded or most exposed folks as far as the depth of knowledge we have across a wide spectrum. Now, that may have just been someone being really nice, but I definitely feel like there's a different aspect of our job that really makes us have to be a jack of all trades, at least to the point of being well-read around things like network utilization or security things. All of the things that we touch or that touch our systems are things that we at least need to read up on enough so that we can have a meaningful discussion with our security team or with our networking team and say, hey guys, I know how my technology works and I have a good idea of what your technology can do or can't do. And here's how we need to marry those up. And so I guess my framing that in a training type question is, I guess speak to that as far as like the importance of having that depth of knowledge and being able to get like, hey, get outside the bubble. It's not just in the console. There's all these other things that if you learn about these things, these are going to expand your ability to fight the good fight and bring about good change for your environment.
I think that's I wouldn't say trouble, but challenge with being a ConfigMgr admin is that you're more or less required to have that pretty deep knowledge about lots and lots of things. You need to know a little bit about file service and permissions. You need to know a little bit, as you said, about networking. You need to know about SQL. You need to know about scripting. You need to know about Active Directory and group policies. You need to be pretty deep in Windows to figure out what's going on if you do imaging and whatnot. And there is so much around it. So most ConfigMgr admins that I stumble across that I consider like, dang, you're good. They usually have a background of doing a little bit of everything in the environment. Has been almost like an IT generalist at first, and then later niched in to work with ConfigMgr. But of course, you can learn that later also. But it more or less requires that you have been in the IT industry for a bit. It's really hard I'm so happy that ConfigMgr did not exist when I was in high school or even college, because I can imagine coming out fresh out of college and say, here's ConfigMgr. Well, SMS it was then, but get it going. That would have been hard, because I needed those years learning about all the other stuff. I needed to learn how to troubleshoot a printer and a firewall or whatever, setting up a router.
Yep.
It's been helpful. Yeah. So I totally agree with that post or that tweet, that you have to be good at a lot of things if you want to be great at ConfigMgr. I think that's very much true.
So how would you suggest, so if we've got folks that are watching that are, just kind of dipping their toe in this, or they're trying to get better at their jobs or expand, I mean, obviously you've got, so this is going to be a little bit of promotion for your stuff. So we've got ViaMonstra. So we're not really trying to sell your product, but you've got some of the best stuff that's around as far as a formalized training, instructor-led training type things, so what all are the things that you are offering as part of your services, as far as training? Like, what have you done? What are you finding works best? How has COVID changed that landscape for you? And what are you seeing from your clients, from your customers, from your students on what's working? What are they asking for? What is the type of stuff that people are coming to you for?
I mean, for me, it comes back to myself personally. I have always learned the best when I had a chance to actually doing things. So when we started to create trainings where you actually have a mix of instructor-led labs together with hands-on labs that the students are doing on their own, or instructor-led training and students doing a hands-on lab on their own, those have been like, oh, I like that. I like to be able to present it. I like to be able to learn that way myself. And I remember back when Tech Ed that still existed, they had the normal sessions, and they were good. They also brought in a lot of third-party industry experts to talk about things. Unfortunately, that changed and they're gone. But they had labs, so you can actually go into a room and you had a lab, 200 different labs. You can just go ahead and do them. Amazing. And that has been a key thing for us, to be able to deliver that type of training, find good instructors on the topic, but also build good labs so people can learn. But then at the same time, COVID learned us, and that's why we started the Academy, really, when we realized we need to offer something else as well, because everybody cannot either afford or take the time away to do like a 4 or 5 day class. They have to be able to consume it differently. And there are so many out there that deliver like regular video-based training. So what we came up with then was, okay, let's do live trainings, because the content is updating all the time anyway. So why not do it live? And if someone misses a session, fine, they can go back and check the recording later. But let's focus on now. And that's pretty much what you guys have with your channel also. It's been constantly moving every other week, new content coming out, and I think that's key these days, to continuously provide that updated content. Because I mean, Intune, think of today compared to 4 years ago, it's not the same.
Nope.
I mean, yeah, every 3 months probably we could redo video 1, intro to Intune, and it sounds like that's kind of what you get to do with the online academy, is that you get to adjust your content as it's changing. Whereas like I was looking through comments the other day, and someone said, commented on video 1, it's like, guys, this is 3 years old. Any chance you can re-record this? And it's like, yeah, but we had really good organic discussions around it, and what we talked about was really good then, and all that. And so like, we can't have that organic discussion again. We're just going to click through our Intune. So like, getting excited about starting from scratch every time, I think is really difficult for us. It's like, hey, we've already recorded it. But I think for you, that really, you get to deliver the same. And so I guess that's a question. How do you get excited about essentially repeating yourself, with every class? Like, okay, how many times are you going to teach 101? Because there's still somebody that's never heard it before. This is the very first time.
Right.
And like, how do you get excited by that?
First of all, there is no class that is identical to the other. They evolve, they change always. And I'm not that good of an actor. I genuinely love doing this. It's my absolute passion and always have been. So it's hard not. I wake up happy in the morning when there is a training going on. Sure, it can be stressful preparing for it and whatnot, but presenting, that's gold. I miss so bad the old conferences when they were. I was so happy to be able to go back in MMS now in May and meet all of you guys, but also be back on the stage presenting. It's magic.
Wasn't that a boost, man? It just everybody was just
such a good week.
So much energy there. Just everyone just so excited to be present with everyone. It was so nice. Loved it.
It's like you see the video of goats like jumping around super happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was us, 500 geeks or 700, whatever we were at the conference.
Yep.
Just felt that.
Yeah.
Pure happiness.
And then the following week with the COVID wasn't fantastic. But hey.
Yeah. Sure.
Some of you guys,
the MMS hangover was not fun at all.
No.
But yeah, MMS was awesome.
Yeah. No, but I think the passion drives me, and I love it. I love doing it, and pretty much that's how you guys do it as well. It's hard doing what you do and not liking it.
It really is. In fact, I think we've had those discussions recently around like, hey, what are we going to do here? Because like Steve has moved into MMD. He's still touching Intune and stuff, but he was doing consulting when this started, and so like the landscape has changed for him. And then we got Ben and Jake that are working Patch My PC now and not consulting, and we got Jóhannes and I who are still FTEs doing things, but we're not seeing like it's not.
That audio went bad, sir.
Yep.
Oh, come on. Whatever.
If
this platform has a chat, you can type it in and I can repeat it.
Yeah. To paraphrase what Adam's trying to get at is that the landscape for us as the platform has changed, and we're having to readdress and reassess how we do this. And the passion is very much there. But like you look at myself, Ben, Jóhannes, and Jake, we're not doing this day to day anymore. So we don't have those nuggets of experience. So we're having to go and actively seek it. And it changes how we present it and how we talk about it, which is super interesting, but it adds extra time to us doing stuff, which is awesome, but it's just a different experience.
Yeah, I mean, having a mixed role is, as you remember when you had that role, is very helpful, because when you are doing consulting work every day, something you stumble across so many things that you can talk about and research more, and you basically are thrown into the fire. You have to fix this. Okay, then you go ahead and do it. I don't think I would be happy for a very long time if I decided, no, I'm going to go to training only. So right now we do maybe a training a month that is like a week-long course. And then we have the academy, which is 2 hours per week per training. But imagine I have been like doing these week-long courses all week, all year. I would probably be miserable after a bit, not because of the training, because I would miss the real world exposure to things. It's been very important.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely can you hear me now? Is my
audio
working now? Okay, awesome. I figure I'll ask before I keep going.
Another top-notch solution from Intune training.
Hey, it's better-ish. They can hear the important guy over here, so that's good.
Yes, exactly.
Jeez. I have no idea what I was going to add to this, and probably whatever. Here we go. The wheels are going to fall off now. Okay, so Johan, I'm interested to know. So back to what you're saying. Like, I totally agree, because there are days where I'm getting to innovate and I'm getting to dig, and those are the days that I'm most inspired, because I think like, or at least to blog and to make videos, you have to have the time, you have to have the energy to dig in, but then you also have to, like, I think it's just like it's equivalent to making art or cooking or any of the creative. While it's super technical, to translate it from tech to to the screen here, I think there's a switch you have to flip in your brain. That's now I'm in creative mode, and so you have to be inspired. And I think that's kind of what you're saying is, if you just are doing training every single day and you're not getting that spark of, I dug into this really cool thing today and I get to tell people about it. Like, I think that's really that thing for me. I know that motivates me, because it's you're getting that hit, man. It's like, oh man, this is cool. I like this. I'm going to keep digging. And those are the things that keep you awake till 2 a.m. because I can't stop. And this is the only time you've got to dig in. And if you let it go, you're going to set yourself back 50%, but to start back again the next time, and you're going to forget half of.
It's the addiction. Let's be very, very honest. It's the addiction of sitting there and going, I need to answer this, because otherwise I'm going to be sitting there and beating my head against the wall for 3 weeks and be very miserable because I can't figure something out.
Yeah. How many times have you had to get up, say, hey, you know what? I can't sit and watch TV tonight. I've got to go dig into this thing. It's driving me nuts, and I can't sleep until I do this.
Yep.
Many of those nights.
Yeah, I have good news for you, since I'm older than both of you. With age comes a little bit perspective. These days, it's actually quite rare that I'm awake longer than 1 a.m. in the morning. I may go up at 5 again to continue with something, but I usually don't do the all-nighters anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy as I had when I was 20. And it's coming back to that good enough. Well, I'll figure it out anyway. I usually figure most things out like 2 hours before a deadline. That's how it works.
Yes. So okay, so tell me about the most memorable, like, live training kind of catastrophe, like the moment where you're just like, oh my God, like, will we ever, like, what do we do? That panic of the wheels have fallen off in the training, or just what didn't go well?
I don't have any real catastrophes in a class, because even if a lab fails, you fix it. It has to be a live stream we did back in 2018. We had rented out a studio in Seattle. We had Michael Niehaus there. We have Aaron Shackelford.
Oh, yeah, Aaron.
He was there, and we had 400 people paying to see a full-day live event about imaging. And our stream went so bad in the middle of it, so we have to reset everything and start over. That was no fun.
Oh, I bet.
You have one chance, you're that many people, there is no come back tomorrow and we'll fix it, or stay a little bit later and we'll fix it. But luckily, one of their engineers in the studio, he figured it out. Like, all right, we do this and we fix it. And when we started, it was half an hour. Good.
Nice.
That was... Apparently, we have someone who wants to help.
Hey there, Pup.
Session.
There you go. How many floofs do you have running around the house these days?
Well, this one is Kylo. We have Ray and Lando. We are big Star Wars fans, obviously. And then we have 3 horses outside and 4 cats. So He's been in a few episodes here on the
My
stream.
neighbor's just got a new pup, and his name is Obi, I think. So they are also Star Wars fans.
Love it. Yes.
Like it.
Yeah. I think this one is trying to tell me he wants to go on the other side of the door, but I'll have to wait, sir.
Oh, poor pup.
Yeah. Well, I do have another episode also that was more interesting. I was doing a webinar with my friends at Andreas and Phil, and one of our horses escaped out of their paddock and came
all of a sudden
up
the episode
on the patio, looking into the office, like 8 feet away. It's like, there's a horse. There's not supposed to be a horse up on our patio. So I was like, I have to leave. And they took over, and I caught the horse and got it back in the paddock. It's like, I'll be back 10 minutes later. And I have it on video because one of our security cameras outside got it. Like motion sensor picked it up.
so good.
That was fun.
Oh, I love it. So Johan, if you were to give the folks watching advice on career advancement or just how to weaponize training for their own good, because like ultimately at the end of the day you might not be working for the same company tomorrow, and like you've got to take care of yourself. And this is just as much as this is making you better at your job, it's making you more valuable as a person, as a potential employee somewhere else. So how can we use training to further our career? Why is it important? And how can we go about, like, what are the platforms that people can reach out to? And I don't know, you get what I'm asking. I just keep going. I'm not great at this. I'm making this up as we go. Come on.
No, but it comes back to training is a big aspect. Find the trainings that you can convince your organization to go to and take them. Find people that know what they're doing and attend their training when you have the chance. Find the format that works for you. Get that lab going so you can play around and tinker and learn things that way also. But you don't have to learn absolutely everything yourself. It's really useful to listen in to others and get their input. And that can be any type of training. It could be like last week, we have Microsoft that did a little Ask Me Anythings. There were 4 different sessions running through the day. Fantastic learning opportunity. You guys, your channel that you have, same story. And there are other things out there, but find some sort of training that brings value, and that will boost your career and also build your own brand if you have the chance. Because as you, Adam, said, you might not be stuck with the same organization forever. And the more you can promote yourself, you being active on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on other social media platforms, you get your name out there. I mean, I personally hired people that I met through the community, and that's another side of networking as well. You meet a lot of people. Our academy is fairly new in the concept, but we still have a few thousand people coming through it, and that network may not be like an immediate value today, this second, but over your career, I mean, today I work with a lot of people that I worked with 20 years ago. They are not the same company anymore, but I still work with the people I met and networked with.
Yeah, you keep those connections, right?
Yeah, and that's an aspect I think a lot of folks forget about the training. It's also about the people you meet in the training.
Yeah.
Someone might remember that, oh, wait a minute, that was, she was downright amazing on this in this course, and now we need someone, so let's reach out and see if they're interested in switching jobs, basically.
I like that. So if that's not a reason enough to get involved in the community, you mentioned, social media, and I've spoken with numerous people over the years who the moment you say Twitter or Facebook or Reddit, they're like, oh, I don't do social media. And I think it's got such a stigma around, like there are lots of people that just they won't touch it, even LinkedIn and stuff. Like, it's like there's all of these outlets and all these places where there's tons of information being freely shared back and forth. Just this week, I had someone ask me, they reached out to me on LinkedIn to ask some questions. And we were going back and forth. And I said, if you'll tweet the question, I will retweet it and get you some traction. And I tagged Ben and Steve in, and then Ben and Steve and other folks jumped in and were able to help drive the conversation with that guy in a way that I wasn't going to be able to give him the cycles that he needed. I was, I'm overwhelmed and swamped right now. And it's like, why not let the power of the community help and just have this collaborative effort? So what would you say to folks who say, I don't do social media? I mean, promote, why should you get on Twitter? And how, and what are some ideas on here's how you do Twitter to make it not toxic for you from a I hate social media platform kind of perspective? I mean, not specifically even Twitter, but
I usually basically say, if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter, because the information out there is so valuable. Even if you don't write a single word yourself, just following a few people, like check out follow Adam and Steve and check the people they follow and pick a few of those and just listen in. And when you're ready to start to do some sort of interaction or networking, start to post comments or answer somebody's questions or just confirm something like, yeah, I see the same, or yeah, we had the same problem and this fixed it. It's really, really valuable.
What you just described there was exactly how I got into Twitter. That was it. I needed help and I didn't know where to go. And I got on Twitter and I found you guys and I stayed on Twitter and it's been amazing.
Yeah. It's funny how the systems management community decided on using that platform, and there are so many others, but that's where they are. We now see that the LinkedIn is coming up almost as much as Twitter, but it took a while. If you look in the various endpoint management groups on LinkedIn now, 20,000 some members. That's a lot.
Facebook's the same.
Yeah,
Facebook actually has really huge groups.
I'm in like 10 different Facebook Intune, groups. Yeah, it's nuts.
Autopilot. It's quite amazing.
What in the world happened there? Sorry, somehow my
Alexa's unhappy.
I've got an Alexa, Amazon Echo thing sitting over here, and apparently people are texting me on that, telling me they're coming home. But I can't hear. I've got earbuds in, so I'm barely hearing it and realizing that this is odd sound in the background. Okay, this is nuts. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
nap time, Alexa. Connect the power cable.
Yeah. Exactly. But I just killed it.
But bottom line, interacting in the community or being part of the community and learning a lot of that, it will put yourself above. It will boost your career. It will make you valuable on the market in general. So why not?
One thing that I want to throw in there, we've talked a lot about using the community to drive your next job. But that's not there. You don't have to be going and finding another job to use the community. You can use this to improve your station in your current organization. Because being able to demonstrate that you have that larger community and a larger engagement, you can go, well, I'm worth more to the organization because I have the ability to be able to answer these questions and get this solution sorted. I just wanted to call that out because we're very much, you always start, you don't have to.
All right, let me just a second here, gentlemen. When you gotta go, you gotta go.
That's right.
Exactly.
Steve's bailed on videos before too.
Yep.
I forgot to show you this. This is my treasure. Not sure how well it shows, but
SMS 1.0.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
And Windows 95, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's an NT workstation up in the right corner.
Ooh,
nice.
Yeah.
DJM was asking if somebody had SMS 2.0 the other day on Twitter. So if you got one laying around, I'm sure he'd love it. Netware. I think that's what I learned in college. I learned Novell in college because that was what they were using at the time. I love it.
I learned Novell as well, and yeah, that was fun when you went and did the training course. They're like, every answer to every question is going to be in this book. Whereas the Microsoft stuff, good luck.
Yeah. Even we don't know. Good luck on that.
It's in that book, plus online and osmosis. Oh, okay. And then I never actually did anything Novell.
I miss those times.
So I wanted to add something to the to your point about Twitter, about it not just being about networking. I like it that it's a blog feed for anybody. You get all the bloggers and you follow the bloggers, and then they post their blogs there, and you don't have to subscribe to their blogs. They just, hey, cool, new blogs here, and then that's where you can go ask questions about the guy who wrote the stuff. The best part though is this week on the 26th at 11 p.m. I happened to open up Twitter, and I've been swamped. I haven't been paying any attention to what's going on, and apparently on the 27th, Microsoft was releasing some certificate updates that were going to introduce breaking changes to ConfigMgr, specifically through tenant attach, which we happen to be using. And the note was, if you haven't updated to 2203 for all platforms, everybody all the way up, I think it was just a ploy to get everybody to upgrade, get to 2203 with the latest hotfix, you're going to have a bad time tomorrow. So this is 11 p.m. on the 26th. And I'm like, and I see this thread, and I was like, okay. So I texted my server guy, him and I co-manage our ConfigMgr environment. And basically he just puts everything in SCOM maintenance mode, and I take care of the rest. Because I don't put SCOM console on my machines. And so I texted him and I said, Greg, I've got this urgent patch I need to do to the ConfigMgr environment. I've already hit go. Can you put things in maintenance mode? And he says, yeah, sure. So I send a note to our Europe and Asia guys and just say, hey, just so you know, imaging is going to be down for a couple hours. And I just went to town on it. So I'm churning away, and I'm getting other work done and stuff. And while I'm sitting there waiting for it to happen, and then I had to rebuild my boot image and wait for it to distribute, and then do a test build to make sure. And somewhere around 4 a.m., I crawled in bed and set my alarm for 9 a.m. And so I got me a nice little 5 hours of sleep, and then went into the office and stayed till 7. But the point is that Twitter let me stay up all night. No, Twitter alerted me.
Twitter's fault that I stayed up all night.
A potential thing that was potentially going to impact us and cause us some production issues, which warranted an emergency change. Now, had I paid attention a month ago when the alert came out, it wouldn't have needed to be an emergency. But no one it was not a blip. No one cared. I got no emails, no nothing. Imaging still works. Like, also, server guy was like, yeah, I don't care. The stability of these upgrades has been phenomenal. No one cares. So
I mean, Twitter saved the day, obviously, and I lost count the number of times that happened, especially around Patch Tuesday. As soon as just a few months ago, when they broke RD Gateway, one of the patches, we have that for our remote labs. If I had applied that patch, there would be no remote labs that day. But I read about it. It's like, don't apply this one. It's like, good thinking. I won't.
I love how this past Patch Tuesday, Brian Dam called it. He said, well, it's Patch Tuesday, folks. Let's hope that somebody didn't blow up the Office CDN this month. And like the next post below was like, well, the Office CDN's down. Well done, Brian. Well done.
How good you? Yeah.
So
how rude.
Probably a bit of public service notice around updates is everybody knows that all of the remediations that were put in or mitigations to Print Nightmare, where it allowed you to map insecure printers and all of that, gets rolled back the next update, right?
Interesting. I lost count on all the Print nightmare changes, because like 4 months in a row we're like, no,
Yep.
this month this is how.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Or no.
I've just kind of gotten to the point on some of this stuff where I just let it ride out until the security guys yell at me or someone complains about a problem. But I just sit there and watch Twitter for a bit and just see, is it really a big deal? I'll let other folks figure this one out for me, because I'm not messing with this. It's always going to be something. That's why we still have a job, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Goodness, one of the
That's
dogs
the
came
reality.
back. That's always something.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we've been going for about an hour, and I think we could go for several more probably, but folks will probably want us to wrap this up. So
unfortunately.
So Johan, I mean, I think we've kind of covered, like, hey, go get trained in whatever way you can to help further your career, to help further your expertise, to help make you a better, more well-rounded systems management expert in whatever field you're in. So if you had to throw out one part
also.
Oh, and get a lab and get on Twitter. So what would be your kind of parting thoughts on all of this if people have made it to the end of the video?
I mean, I'll be honored, obviously, if anyone of you watching would consider taking a training with us. That'd be awesome. But it doesn't really matter where you get it, as long as you get it. It's so valuable. Absolutely.
Well, so from that perspective, where can people get the training? When's your next one coming up? I know this won't age well, but for now.
No, so we run courses every month. Our academy courses that run every quarter. So they're 6 week long. So they start up somewhere every quarter. So the academy website is usually where the best way to find us. Academy.viamonstra.com. This is where we publish everything that is going on. And we also have a bunch of community courses as well. We call them mini courses, but they are free for the community to attend. So if your budget is super tight, well, it's still training, still good. So why not check out a few of those and see if you like it?
Awesome. Well, we will include all of the pertinent details in our link below. And look at this. Oh, see, Steve's figuring out the platform over here. I can't multitask like this.
Winning.
I love it. There you go. All right. Perfect. Look, I'll click this button too. There you go. So now we're just full on branding here.
Yeah, a marketing person, he's going to cry when he sees this.
All 12 people who watch this, yeah, they're going to love it. Well, awesome. Well, it has been a pleasure to have you on. We will have all the info in the description and get this all tweeted out to everybody. And we just can't thank you enough for the continual contributions to the community. I think you're one of the cornerstones of this community with what you've done for us. You're not the only one. Don't want to admit it, but you are definitely one of the top folks out there, just helping everybody get a leg up on our jobs and be better. So can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us. Thanks for joining us.
I agree.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.